This is the Erin Cruz Show. Politics for the people and by the people. With your host, Erin Cruz.
Do you see dead people? Because they're voting in California. Corrupt politicians are using dead people to steal elections. Last October, we learned that a Mexican citizen used a dead man's ID for the last 25 years, and he voted for him multiple times. A CBS investigation found that hundreds of dead people are still voting in LA. By allowing dead people to vote, the Secretary of State is telling you that your vote does not matter. You know what? Your vote does matter. All votes matter. Elections matter. Let's stand together. Let's fight for fair and free elections. I'm Mark Moiser. I'm running for California Secretary of State. I don't see dead people, but I do approve this message.
Well, we have with us here today a follow-up interview. We couldn't wait to catch up with him. We have Tim Donnelly. He's running for California Congressional District 8. He's running for the United States House of Representatives. He's got just an amazing amount of momentum behind him. Welcome to the Erin Cruz Show. Welcome back, actually, to the Erin Cruz Show, Tim.
It is awesome to be back with you, Erin.
Yes. Well, catch us up. What have you been up to? I hear you've had a lot going on within your campaign.
That's an understatement. They must consider me a threat because they're pouring it on the establishment side. Look, this is one, just to give you an update, this is one of the few races where we've shut the Democrats out. So there's two Republicans running.
Right.
And so, obviously we're up against the GOP establishment. And since you and I talked, I had grassroots all the way up to one person away from the president. And unfortunately, that person was going to go talk to the president about an endorsement for me. The swamp got in there, canceled his appointment because some of the gatekeepers around the president are not, they don't have his best interest at heart. They're
well,
part of the
I would say
establishment.
that it's not even that they don't have his best interest at heart. They don't have our best interest at heart.
Well, exactly. They don't have our best interest at heart. And I'll tell you
we
what.
We the people. Not the powers that be.
So
we the people. And that would include President Donald Trump because he is up against that insider establishment agenda from the progressives to the Republicans, or shall I say rhinos, because they aren't
you're
really
right.
true Republicans.
He is fighting in every direction. And look, I'm trying to get there to have his back. And so 2 hours after my friend's appointment was canceled, the endorsement came out for my opponent, who is a never Trumper. This is a guy that was betting that President Trump was going to lose. So we have since attempted to reach the president. The other day, I was at an event. I was able to talk to Don Jr.,
right,
who did take some interest. And so, this is the battle of politics in a post-Trump era. Is you really have to get his endorsement, and if you don't, then you've got to negate the power of that endorsement for the other side. You know what's sad? The guy got the endorsement from President Trump, this guy who I'm running against, Cook. He never even retweeted it. It's like he's not even proud of it. And he just intends to use it to fool the Trump base. But I'll tell you what, Ann Coulter wrote to my defense and tweeted back to the president and said, look, you endorsed the wrong guy. Donnelly wanted to build a wall a decade before you did.
Donnelly helped build the California Minutemen, okay? Thank you very much. Donnelly's been on the ground fighting for the American people, fighting for the citizenry, even in the swamp in Sacramento for a time, right, as an assemblyman. Donnelly has been working against the grain for the people for some time.
Well, I like the way you say that. I love your enthusiasm.
I'm sorry.
We got to get you on the campaign trail here.
You have me fired
you
up.
put on that great rally down in Huntington Beach. Look, here's the thing. I literally went and took 200 people to the border and got Anderson Cooper to record it, do a positive piece on us. We built 400 yards of fence. Yes, the guy on the Colbert Report made fun of it. But
he only made fun of it because he's insecure.
Yeah, but he covered us. He covered us. And
yeah, he did.
A long, long time before any of these politicians were talking about building a wall. We did it in protest of a Republican administration who wanted to do an amnesty rather than secure the border and restore the rule of law in our country. So I'm excited. There's some tremendous momentum on the ground, and we've even had a little bit of success in Washington, D.C. Ever since Trump got elected. There is sort of there's a little bit of support for people who are outsiders for a change. It's kind of exciting. So you don't know we have no idea. Only God knows what the ultimate end result will be. But I feel that I have a very good chance of winning this race. And every day we see little miracles happen. It's pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. And I want to make it clear, though, I'm a Republican. And the Republican Party platform is a strong platform. But there are people in the party who are not working towards those fundamental issues which the platform is based on, right? And value systems that platform is based on. They're not working for that. They're working for their own self-interest, so they're working for an agenda, or they're off base from where the party is supposed to be at. And so we're not talking bad
yeah, you're right. That's a very important
actual
point.
Republicans. We're talking about the reality of a very strong platform, people who are committed to certain value systems and principles, and they've been hijacked. We've been hijacked.
At the outset, you're exactly right, Erin. At the outset, I said there were two Republicans in this race.
Right.
That's incorrect. There's only one Republican, and there's only one Democrat. He just is pretending to be a Republican. Okay.
Well, be it as it may, the issue is this: there are some people who may be supporting the wrong candidate, and people who live in this district really need to take a long, hard look at that Republican Party platform. Principles of limited government, principles of, they have to look at that, and then they have to look at the candidates and really discover who is the true Republican and who is the person that's going to go to bat for them in D.C. Tim Donnelly. But they need to come to that conclusion.
It's not complicated. I mean, my opponent voted to use our military funds for sex change surgeries. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, we're home to 29 Palms Marine Base. We're home to the Fort Irwin Army Training Base, Marine Logistics Base. We have more veterans in this district than pretty much anywhere in the country, except maybe Matt Gaetz's district in Florida. It's insane that we aren't taking. Look at the USA Today. Another story about how our veterans are suffering. Their wait times are forever. They're not getting the services they need, and somehow this is a priority. This goes completely against what the president has laid out as his agenda for the military. He's serious about having the military do military objectives and not social engineering.
Right,
and I think
absolutely.
A lot of Americans cheered when he said that. So, when my opponent says Trump made him vote, to use military funds for sex change surgeries, it's a lie. And it's really unfortunate, that when you have a lot of money, you can tell the lie over and over again. And when you tell it often enough, it becomes a perception of the truth. But we're out there. We're spreading the message, and when people hear the truth about my opponent's record, I don't talk about his personality, I don't talk about his personal life, I just talk about his voting record, and right there, he's an amnesty guy, he is a guy that voted to use military funds for sex change surgeries. That is not in line with the priorities or the values of the people of the 8th District of California.
Right, absolutely. It's also not in line with the objectives that Trump has laid forth in his America First policy, and some of his other initiatives, and is also not in line with the Republican Party platform.
Right.
I'm going to call that
yeah,
out.
You're right.
And trust me, Tim, I'm on a mission here. One of the reasons why I want to interview you and many other people is because the people deserve to know what's going on. And if the mainstream media won't cover it, we have to. And
look, I want to make one thing absolutely clear. I do not believe that President Trump endorsed my opponent. I don't believe he had any idea who this man was. I believe he was lied to. I believe he was tricked, and I believe it was a swamp move. And I believe that you had rhinos in the Republican National Committee involved in this. And the bottom line is he didn't sit down and look at Tim Donnelly, who built a wall on the border, who ran a business for 20 years, who won his first election by a single vote by promising to bring the Arizona law. He didn't look at me. He was told. He was
given foul advice. That would be how I would
he was
say.
Given,
yes,
exactly, from people who surround him, who we talked about earlier, who are part of the swamp, and they want to see President Trump fail. And you know what?
We want to help you drain the swamp, Tim.
What's that?
We want to help you drain the swamp. And
yeah, that's the goal. Let's drain the swamp. But you know what? We need to pray every day for President Trump. We really do, because he is under assault from every angle. We see what's going on with this whole Kavanaugh hearing, and the measures they will go to. There is nothing they won't stoop to destroy the greatest country on the face of the earth and to battle the people who want to defend her.
Absolutely. That is so true. And it's up to us to protect and to defend the Constitution, the country, and the Republic for future generations. And, Tim, how is your campaign going? I mean, in terms of boots on the ground and health financially, do you need the people's support? Do you need more volunteers? What do you need?
We need everything. I'm raising money.
Good.
But we can always use more. And
right.
We're using it very well. We are going to be, when we win, we're going to be one of the cheapest victories.
Right.
Yeah, because we're very efficient with our money. Okay.
That's good.
But I'll tell you what, a lot of people can't give money. I mean, they're out there busting their butts, trying to just pay for the gas tax and everything else to go to work. Look, if I can get people who would just make 1 hour of phone calls, we've got a terrific app. I've got an amazing young man who drove 35 hours just to come out and volunteer for our campaign. He's organizing all the people who are making the phone calls, and we make it super easy and fun.
Right.
And the bottom line is, if you want to see a guy in there like me, who will not only have the president's back, but who will go in the streets and defend our God-given natural rights without apology, and who knows how to force the media to cover things that Republicans don't even know how to do, I'm your guy, Tim Donnelly. My website is very simple. It's Donnelly, 4, Congress.com. I'm on Facebook. Get a hold of us, and I will put you in touch with Jordan, and we will absolutely make things happen.
Wonderful, Tim. Wonderful, Tim. And, we pray for you every day. We're promoting you, and we really need to drain the swamp. And I know that you will do the good, hard work that needs to be done. There's a month left.
Well,
there's a month left.
Yes, we have a month left, and we're going to have fun. Our campaign is going to have fun walking doors and knocking doors and giving people hope. And let me tell you something. When you talk about draining the swamp, when I went to Sacramento, I left there to run for governor to try to save this state. And then I wrote a book about the corruption. And I exposed the corruption. I named names. And I think that's really important. At this time, we need to get the corruption out, no matter which party it's in, because the American people deserve a government that keeps that promise, that it's a government that is ruled by us, a government of the people, for the people, and most importantly, by the people, and not by the elitists, the establishment, the swamp, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, whatever name works for you. They ain't us. Right.
And they're not working for us, yet they want our money. They want all of our power, and they want complete dominance and control. And I believe
complete control over us, right?
Right. And I believe that people have had enough, Tim, and this is why you're seeing such a surge, and you really you're experiencing so much pushback. So just keep on keeping on. And over the next month, if you want to come back on the show and give us an update yet again, we'd love to hear from you, because this is something
Erin,
where we have to expose those people that are inside undermining the Republican Party, undermining such a precious platform. I mean, that platform, people don't understand what the Republican Party platform is comprised of, and the values and the principles that it's based off,
Exactly.
off of. We have to.
We are pro-life. We are
it.
pro-life, and so we shouldn't be funding Planned Parenthood.
Right.
With their agenda.
Right.
And yet,
we shouldn't have people
we
who
have
are
Republicans like
those...
my opponent that have voted for that.
Right. Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It's disgraceful, as the president likes to say. Look, I would love to come back on with you, but I would also say one thing that you can do. Let's say you don't want to make phone calls, you can't donate any money,
right,
but you care. I would ask you to pray every day for our campaign, pray for our leaders,
yes,
and especially the president, because this is a spiritual battle. For the freedom and the heart and the soul of our country.
Yes, exactly. You've heard it right here, folks, from Tim Donnelly. He's running for the California House of Representatives seat in District 8. Please get on his website, get on your knees, pray, and really, 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 really think about how you can contribute. Even financially, because time, talent, treasure, prayer, we need it all. And thank you again, Tim Donnelly, for being on the Erin Cruz Show, and Godspeed. Right, absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It's disgraceful, as the president likes to say. Look, I would love to come back on with you, but I would also say one thing that you can do. Let's say you don't want to make phone calls, you can't donate any money,
right,
but you care. I would ask you to pray every day for our campaign, pray for our leaders,
yes,
and especially the president, because this is a spiritual battle for the freedom and the heart and the soul of our country.
Yes, exactly. You've heard it right here, folks, from Tim Donnelly. He's running for the California House of Representatives seat in District 8. Please get on his website, get on your knees, pray, and really, 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 really think about how you can contribute, even financially, because time, talent, treasure, prayer, we need it all. And thank you again, Tim Donnelly, for being on the Erin Cruz Show, and Godspeed.
My pleasure. My pleasure. God bless you and God.
Right, absolutely. Wow. Every single video of his is thought-provoking. His information is down in the comments. Please make sure that you connect. He has so much out there for you to be able to share and enlighten the minds of those around you, be it liberal, Democrat, libertarian, freedom-thinking, Republicans, constitutional conservatives, you name it. There's a video out there for everyone. So make sure that you like and share his videos today. Again, the link is down below. So on to our next guest.
And now, back to the Erin Cruz Show. Here's Erin Cruz.
We have back with us today Raphi Rebucas. He is an amazing young man. So much energy, passion for the country, love for California, and just a draw to the American people. He has started a PAC. It's called the Young Leaders PAC. He's a conservative. How old are you? 13, 14?
13.
13 years old. It's unbelievable. But he's back. He gave us a full interview. You need to check it out. I'm going to put the link below. Check that out. But right now, he's going to give us an update on how the PAC is going, what kind of work they're doing within the state, and just give us a great update. Thank you for coming on the show, Raphi.
Thank you so much for having me, Miss Cruz. It's an honor to be back.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what have you been up to?
Right. So the Young Leaders PAC is in full swing. We have 38 days. Can you believe that? 37 days till the election. And for all of you voters, this election has been called one of the most important elections of our lifetime. It determines whether or not the incumbent representatives in our state and our country are serving us well, or whether we need new leadership.
Right.
I personally believe that we need to keep the House, keep the Senate. And what the Young Leaders PAC is trying to do and continues to do is try to inform the youth about the political atmosphere, encourage their participation, and elect independent legislators to represent us in the state of California and in Washington, D.C. And I think that what you've been seeing in the what you've been seeing in the Senate hearings, in the Senate Judiciary hearings, especially when we're trying to confirm another Supreme Court justice, I think that when we look at the Democratic Party, we see that, we need better leadership than that. And I think it's time that we elect citizen representation, citizen leadership, people who understand what it's like to be a citizen, not bought off by special interests, and not working for the people and not working for their donors.
Patriots, not politicians. Patriots,
exactly.
not politicians.
I like that. Patriots, not politicians. We have some amazing candidates, especially in my district. We have Dr. Kenneth Weston Wright, who's running for United States Representative. He was on your show, and he talked a lot about the McCarran-Ferguson Act.
Yes, absolutely. He went in depth into that act, and we need brave patriots like that aren't afraid to talk, speak, tell the truth, and take action.
That's right. And, he is an ophthalmologist. He's a pediatric eye surgeon. And, he was living an amazing life as a doctor. And he gave a lot of that up to run for Congress to unseat a politician who has not been serving his people very adequately, has not been working to their interests, Representative Ted Lieu. And we also have Mr. Frank A. Scotto, who's running for the Assembly in California's 66th Assembly District. And again, there's so many patriots out there who are, they're not doing this for an ego. They're actually trying to help, bring the adequate leadership that is necessary for their constituents. And, these people are patriots. They have a love for their country, and they have a love for their state. And they wouldn't be running. They wouldn't be conducting these campaigns and, getting slandered by the media and getting insulted by, different hecklers in their rallies. And, there's a negative and there's a positive side about politics. And I think we need to realize the sacrifice that people are making when they're running for office. And we've been trying to host some events. We've actually today we're going to be sending out a lot of letters to schools, in high schools and middle schools in the South Bay, requesting the school administrations to encourage and promote volunteering, student volunteering, and being more active citizens. And I think that's a really big issue, is that the decisions by which our leaders make today will impact generations.
Right,
and even our voters, when they cast a vote, they're casting a vote that will impact my life, will impact my children's life, and will impact the many generations to come. So that's why I think that our voters and our adults and our leaders, they need to look at who they're voting for, and for our legislators, they need to look at what they're voting for.
Right, absolutely.
And we see a lot of impactful measures on our ballot. We see Proposition 6, repeal the gas tax and make sure that any new taxes are approved by the electorate. I am for that. I believe, we need to repeal the gas tax. And, in 3 years, 4 years, I'm going to start to be driving. And, with teenagers in high school and also in college, they follow a strict budget. And I think that
it's where we start. It's where we start our children out understanding real life, the process of personal responsibility and accountability, budgeting, the very basics. And you're very, very correct there in saying that budgeting for these youth and trying to figure out how they're going to get to soccer practice. Most parents probably just give them money, but we have to get back to the basics. We have to get back to the place where, these kids realize the value of the dollar and how much their government is actually costing them. And when you do that, you provide them with the ability to really understand the full scope and make good decisions politically, socially, politically, and what have you. And like you said, how do you get to soccer practice? How do you get to your events? How do you get to work? How do you may be in school, you may be a teenager, but working within a budget, it could impact our youth as well. And that's a good point. And I'm glad that you're drawing it into schools, the educators, to the place where they say, we should have our youth more involved and really understanding the balance of these decisions and their future and how these leaders, I don't know if a lot of people we have in office right now are true leaders, but how these leaders are impacting their lives and how they can be a part of the process. That's good. And I'm glad you're doing that. So now...
And I think...
Go ahead.
If I could just add one thing. I think,
absolutely.
The youth don't necessarily realize how many opportunities that are out there to volunteer. How can they affect our elections? And also how much the campaigns around, especially grassroots campaigns, how much they value volunteers, especially young volunteers.
And it's also good experience. You build connections, you network. For those people who you may be volunteering, but perhaps at the point when you can actually work, you'll be able to then get a job, gain employment part-time here and there. It's about relationships as well.
Absolutely.
So is that something that you're trying to do, is encourage volunteerism?
Yeah, we need to make sure that we need to condition our youth to be more active citizens, so that when they are of age to vote, they'll be able to understand and fully realize how many levels of government there are and what they do and how they impact our everyday lives. Because, a lot of people my age don't necessarily care about politics, and I think that is of concern. We need to draw a passion from our youth to the political atmosphere. And we also need to inform them. We can't have the fake news media like CNN, MSNBC, and even adults in our lives indoctrinating us and trying to lure us into liberal ideals. We need to have a balanced platform where conservative youth can express themselves without being
without fear of reprisal. Right. I thought of you not that long ago. We had our local network cover a group of kids who were asked to campaign for a man. His name is Raul Ruiz, very, very staunch Democrat youth.
Absolutely.
Wanting youth to go around and volunteers, but they had no idea when they were interviewing these kids. They had no idea what they were really doing, what they were saying, what they were promoting. And when I listened to what these children, these youth, who are wanting to be a part of a process, wanting to be part of a platform and a group and a movement, when I listened to them, they had no clue what it was that they were working towards. If they did, if they really truly understand the process, who they're supporting, I don't believe they would be doing what they're doing for who they're doing it for. And I'm so glad to hear that you're a conservative. You're working towards expressing to the youth that they can have an outlet. Conservatives can have a voice, even at a young age. They don't have to be afraid, and they can be effective in helping their communities and impacting elections. Because I was saddened, and it was scary to hear how uninformed these youth were. Mm-hmm. So, I applaud you.
Thank you.
What do you need from people? What is it? How is it that our listeners can help you in your vision with the PAC? What kind of involvement do you need?
Right. We need, and it doesn't even have to be directly to my PAC. We need adults to be able to give new perspectives to our youth. We've developed a culture, especially for the youth, and it's even prevalent in the African American community, and
all communities, I would say.
All communities, yeah. We need to start thinking for ourselves. We can't have different people or different groups, different parties trying to indoctrinate us and trying to make us feel a certain way. We need to use our own minds and what we feel is best for the world, for our country, for our communities. So I think that the listeners today need to help encourage the youth and inform them about the political atmosphere. We need both sides, and I think that we're already getting sufficient input from the Democratic Party with CNN and MSNBC, which, we conducted a poll. Almost 60% of students listen and watch CNN and MSNBC, and consider them credible and reliable sources. And you can see when you compare actual unbiased news to such media outlets, you can see the bias in how there are people who will nitpick different parts of the story that they like just to try to indoctrinate their voters and try to turn them around the president of the United States and even the Republican Party as a whole. So what we need to do is we need to have our adults be able to inform the youth. Tell your children, your grandchildren that, this is the most important election. And if they don't get the sufficient exposure to the issues at hand, I think that if we continue to have the mentality and carry the mentality as young citizens of this great country, if we continue to carry the mentality that, we're useless in terms of politics, or even that we don't care about politics, that is extremely detrimental to our country's growth. And I think that listeners ought to share their experience, share their thoughts with the younger generations.
That's wonderful. And yes, and nurture them, grow them. Absolutely. Because I think part of it is knowledge. I have a guest for the special edition earlier on this evening, and he's talking about textbooks and how the material that they're sharing in the schools is not even, historically speaking, accurate, representative. That history is being blurred, that the knowledge is being diluted, and that our children are the ones who, and future generations, are the ones who are suffer and going to suffer. And so we have to rectify that. So that's, providing earlier books, not just relying on the schools. We can't rely just on the schools anymore. We need to empower our youth, provide them with the knowledge that they need to be able to make educated decisions. And that means providing them with accurate information and reading sources and nurturing that. Because civics just isn't really a part of our lesson plans anymore in terms of the depth that it requires to become an active and involved and engaged citizen of the United States. So I love that. I love the idea that you're looking for people to engage, especially with their nucleus family, just the people around them, and hopefully they reach out farther. So now you're working with campaigns in terms of the PAC, you're working with campaigns, specifically Kenneth Wright and some others. helping any other candidates? Or are you just really super focused on just those two, or what are you also doing the community outreach? I mean,
Right. Well, I think those two are the ones where I am working hands-on. And,
right.
and I'm really passionate about those two candidates, as well as repealing the gas tax.
Right,
Because,
right.
Uh,
Well, naturally so. That impacts so many
Right.
people.
Yeah. I think that Dr. Kenneth Wright is, I know him personally. I think he's a wonderful person. He'd make an outstanding representative in Congress, especially, his perspective, being a taxpayer, a hardworking citizen. I think that can give adequate representation to the working families in District 33, especially when the incumbent representative, Ted Lieu, which many people don't necessarily know how what he's been doing, his voting record in Congress. In fact, not a lot of people look up voting records
Right.
at all.
Well,
So
it's
I
not
think
easily, I mean, you actually have to know where to look to find it.
That's right.
And the resources are nil, and that's one of the reasons why we are doing what we're doing, is because, shoot, I'll invite Ted Lieu to come on. Actually, I should do that. I should ask my assistant to have him on. I highly doubt he would come on the show.
And he's refused.
That's what these people do. They just, they count on the fact that they're an incumbent. They have loads of money, loads of power, and it's not about the people.
Yes, and he's, even Ted Lieu, he's refused to attend 3 of the town halls and debates that were scheduled with Dr. Kenneth Wright. I think that Ted Lieu ought to attend one of these town halls. There's a town hall on October 6th that I'm going to be attending, and it's run by teens. And,
that's a great opportunity for him to reach the youth.
Right, and Representative Ted Lieu, as far as I know, is I don't think he's showing up. I think he was invited, but he's not showing up. And I think the same with...
wait, back up there. So Ted Lieu has been, you're pretty sure he's been invited to this event, which is a town hall for youth, to expand the minds of the youth and let them be a part of understanding process. And he's decided that that's not a priority.
Yeah, from the Daily Breeze, from what he's said, he never confirmed he was coming. And that he shouldn't be labeled as, I'm not showing up, because he never agreed to it in the first place. And he blames a busy October. He blames, a lot of different things. I'm a busy representative. And, there is being a United States representative is a very, you have a lot of hectic schedules. But I think that it is incumbent upon our representatives to also make sure that they spend time talking to their constituents, talking to youth, even if it means not necessarily in their own party. And going back,
I'm sure that the town hall schedulers and the people there, if he were able to conference in and do a video conference, there's so much technology now. You are not in my studio. You are not here with me. You are not sitting next to me side by side like we see on the screen. You're in a completely different area. I've had people come on the show who are in completely different states. We live in a day and age where we can communicate seamlessly. Absolutely. For the most part. There's no reason why he can't address the people.
Yes.
That's the way I look at it. And I'm sure they would be flexible if he really 100%. Made it a priority.
Yes. And going back to the candidates that I've been working on.
Yes.
Mr. Frank A. Scotto. He's a former mayor of Torrance, Army veteran. I believe Army veteran, yes. And former council member, small business owner. And, he's actually running more of a pro-Scotto campaign than an anti-Murasuchi campaign, Al Murasuchi being his opponent. And, Al Murasuchi has had to cast a lot of deciding votes for a lot of controversial topics. And I think that, we need, with what Mayor Scotto has done for his community in the city of Torrance, in the South Bay, I think that his leadership is absolutely necessary in the California State Assembly to break the supermajority, because we have a very good chance of winning there. And I believe the same with Dr. Kenneth Wright, and also with the repeal of the gas tax. If we get volunteers out, even youth volunteers. I'd love the youth to come volunteer for the gas tax repeal, especially since it's going to be impacting them within the next few years. So we need, and I don't think that majority of the population understands how much volunteering is necessary to a campaign. Because volunteers, contributors, and especially voters are all the elements that make a good campaign, make a victory. Right. And I think that it's time that Californians, Americans, needs to understand. And, there's a lot of races outside of California. Specifically, one I can think of right now is the Beto O'Rourke versus Ted Cruz campaign.
Absolutely.
That is probably the most important Senate race in the country, and I think that
because we have a strong constitutional conservative there, and he's facing some really big heat, and one of the reasons why is because he's a constitutional conservative. He stands for those basic principles that our country was founded on, and you're right. Volunteerism is where it's at. He can't, and neither can other candidates do the job that they need to do to get out the vote without those volunteers. And I would like to go further and say volunteering doesn't mean you have to spend 8 hours a day. It can be a half hour a day. It can be making phone calls. Some people have phone banking opportunities. I don't know if Ken Wright does, but he does. You can do phone banking sometimes and many times from home. And so I believe that when people have the information to be able to understand how they can make an impact, then they can take the action to do so. So I'm really glad you're talking about this. So you're saying, volunteer for candidates, help volunteer for repealing the gas tax, engaging the youth, and helping to work on some of these other campaigns outside of California, like Ted Cruz. So now, what is your involvement in that? Have you met Ted Cruz?
I have not, but that would be an amazing opportunity, wouldn't it be?
It would be. It would be. You should send him a tweet. Tell him you want to meet him.
I should.
Yeah, you should, because your PAC is such an important role, and has such an important role because it deals with the youth. They are the future.
Yes.
It's very simple. So, I think you might be interested. You might have a good conversation there.
That's right.
So, what else do you have to update us with?
Well, we've a lot of us at the Young Leaders PAC, we've been, working hard trying to get those candidates elected, trying to bring sensible, common sense leadership to Sacramento and to Washington, D.C. And right now we're trying to work on social media ads. Good. It's a very important thing, especially when we're trying to outreach to the youth, because the youth, we spend a large percentage of our day on social media, on our screens, on the phone. And, just to get our message, to inform the youth using a platform that the youth uses quite often. I don't think that when we're advocating for the youth, I don't think that, something like a television ad would work as good as a social media ad. Because, if we target adolescents and early young voters, and we, inform them about what is actually happening, we give them another outlet to, read and see the news from a different perspective, from, a conservative or even an unbiased perspective. I love unbiased news, to be honest. But,
truth, fact, there's nothing better than that. Really, it's, I think conservatism, people have a very, very skewed view of what that really is. And I think that if people really get down to the definition of what the word conservative is and understand it, they can then go back and realize that, it's not just about value systems. It's also about the basics, getting back to the basics, traditional and fundamental value systems. And truth, facts are vital. And you don't need to pervert anything. You don't have to manipulate anything to get your message across. That's what the Democrats do. You don't have to. Just share the truth with the youth and let them decide and get involved. I love that. I love that.
Share the truth with the youth. That's an amazing slogan.
You can take that and run with it. You can quote me
right.
if you want, but
Okay.
take it and run with it because it is true. It's true. You know what? And I think that youth today, it's harder to fool them. Okay, they have a lot of information, disinformation at the fingertips, but they have a lot of information, right? So I think they can see through a lot of the baloney.
Yeah.
A lot of the baloney. So yeah, truth for the youth. Oh my gosh, that's great. Well, Raphi, I want to thank you again for being on the Erin Cruz Show. Could you please give your website again and make sure that people are connected, time, talent, treasure?
Sure. So my name is Raphael F. Rebucas. You can call me Raphi. I'm 13 years old, and I'm the founder of the Young Leaders Political Action Committee. You can find us on our online presence at www.rebucas.com. That's REBUCAS.com. And we've been working a lot to try to inform the youth and encourage their participation, but also working to elect legislators with common sense and who can represent their citizens adequately. And I really hope that you can get involved, volunteer for our endorsed candidates, donate if you can. You know, political action committees run on contributions from citizens like you all, like the listeners of the Erin Cruz Show. Thank you so much once again, Ms. Cruz, for allowing me the opportunity to be on the show.
Absolutely. And one more thing we need from you. What is your Twitter handle? Do you have one?
I don't have a Twitter.
Are you on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram.
What is your Instagram?
My Instagram is at President Raphi. That's President RAPHI.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. I want to make sure to plug people in with you so that way they can help promote what information you're providing about the PAC and share your message. So it's
Definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you again. God bless you. And touch base with us, all right? You got 35 days?
37.
37?
30, I believe so.
We'll do it.
We'll do it. Thank you so
right.
much.
Take care.
We will return to the Erin Cruz Show in just a moment.
Primary training is the training for people who go out on election day and observe the polling places. And that also, those people can go out to the places that set up early voting, like Orange County, for example, set up early voting pop-up centers. And so our observation would be the same there. So during the month of October, we hold trainings in as many counties as we've got teams. And people, we put on our website, we put the training schedule. So if you don't have a contact within your own county, you go to our website and we have a neat little map there. You can click on your own county and you will get the schedule of when and where trainings are in your area. Then all you have to do is RSVP and show up. Those trainings have traditionally been 4 hours long because there is so much information that we try to give. But we are now trying to streamline them a little bit. So the ones for November will not be that long, but they will be just as thorough. And then once you have trained, you're good for the election season, and then the person involved with training you will help you to know where to go. They will get your information and your requests. You know, where would you like to go? What area would you like to stay in? Where would you like to observe? And then we will make sure that we coordinate that with you. You'll be given a hotline number to call when you're out there on election day, and that's all there is to it. You can go by yourself. You can request a partner. You can go for 30 minutes, or you can go for 13 hours. It's completely up to you. And then the second training that we have is the one that I mentioned before, the 1 hour online training that will give you the idea of what to look for, how to evaluate it, and what to do when you see something you're concerned about in watching the ballot processing. And so for that, you would contact us directly through our website and let us know that that's the training you're interested in. We will get back to you and connect you up with that.
And now, back to the Erin Cruz Show. Here's Erin Cruz.
We are back. We have on the line with us a really exciting candidate for United States Congress. We're currently talking with Charlie Shoup, and he is running for Congressional District 3. He has a strong background, everybody. take a look at his platform. He's going to provide you his website a little bit later. But I want to pull off a little bit what he says on his website now so you can know what kind of a man you're hearing from. He's done so much good work for the country in his service. It says on his website, Charlie is a retired officer of the United States Marine Corps. He's a veteran of both Desert Storm and the Battle of Fallujah, Iraq. He's a proven leader who has served in both peace and war. And that's an important message right there embedded. You may not have heard it, but maybe he'll share a little bit with us. In both peace and war, Charlie firsthand understands the importance of our nation's defense, the needs of both of our veterans and the needs of our active duty military. Another note that I want to mention about Charlie is that he is a fourth generation Yolo County farming family. That his background is in agriculture, and he has extensive knowledge and schooling to back that up. He's really a strong candidate. We can't wait to hopefully send him to Washington, D.C. and knock a little sense into the corrupt politicians out there. And one last thing I'm going to pull off of his website is Charlie says enough is enough. And he doesn't mind saying it. He's a brave man. Thank you for coming on the Erin Cruz Show, Charlie.
Well, thank you for the great introduction, and it's an honor to speak to you today. It's true. I served 28 years with the Marine Corps. I retired in 2009 as a lieutenant colonel.
Yes.
I was working for Students for Reagan up at Chico State, politically active in 1980, and Ronald Reagan got elected president, so I had to make the choice of going home and farm or serving my country, and my father had served in the Korean War, so I decided to sign up to the United States Marine Corps, and I spent 28 years off and on going all over the world with them. It's a great bunch of people.
That is wonderful. And you're a family man. You have a beautiful, lovely wife.
I met my wife in Korea.
Right.
It's amazing. When you meet the right person, you know almost immediately. And I was later in life. I was 48 years old. I'd never been married, and I met her and go, wow. It just knocked my socks off. I had more fun with her than I think I've ever had with anybody. She is the joy of my life.
Right, and she's brought you, to the place where you are now, where she's supporting you. I've seen pictures. Many people are going to go look at your website when they're, after we give them that, and they're going to see photos as well. Just a light. She's a light, and she's there, and she's supporting you. You have parade photos. You're really working hard to get out to the community there. What is the reception of the people to your candidacy?
Well, it's been really great, especially in the primary. When you look at the 3rd District, it goes all the way from Sassoon and Fairfield all the way up to Willows in Glenn County, over takes in Upper Clear Lake and Lower Lake areas of Lake County, and then it takes over Yuba City and Marysville, all of Sutter and Yuba counties, and it even takes in parts of Sacramento County. And I won the whole North. Yes, it's vast. And I won the whole North District. I won all the northern counties. I even won in Sacramento County, the primary.
That's wonderful.
But I need to work harder, and that's where we're working in the Solano and Yolo County areas, because that's where the biggest number of votes went to my opponent, who is the incumbent John Garamendi, who's been in office in the last 41 years, 38 of those years.
Right.
And we think he's defeatable because we think it's really time for a change in Washington, and I think the people are fed up with politics as usual.
Right, they are, and I believe you're right in that the people are fed up. They're fed up with the corrupt politicians, the politics as usual, the status quo. But I believe part of that is that they see that they've had so many struggles, especially with Barack Obama in office for 8 years. Now we're now experiencing a lot of revitalization in terms of Donald Trump and his policies that he's putting forth and some of the trade deals that he's moving forward on and things like that. But the Congress is stagnant. It's not being as aggressive as it should be, and they aren't going through on their commitments to the American people.
Here's what's going on. Instead of a politician as president, we elected a leader.
Absolutely.
Donald Trump was a titan of industry. He knows how to lead and get things done. He's much the same as a Marine general. They know how to go out and accomplish the mission. I always say that a politician will lick his finger, stick it in the air, find which ways the wind's blowing and tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
But a leader, on the other hand, has the guts to stand there and tell you the truth, even if it's not what you want to hear, and do the right thing for the future of our nation.
Right.
And we have a huge $23 trillion debt that's going to collapse our republic. And we have out-of-control spending and everybody wanting everything for free and huge trade deficits where nothing's made in America anymore. When I was a child, all our TV sets, my shoes, my clothes, everything made in the USA. It was rare that we got something made overseas. Now you go to a Walmart or a Target, find something made in the United States. There's nothing. We're losing it. We're going to lose our republic if we don't turn the situation around and make America strong again. And I think that's what Donald Trump really understands coming from the private industry. He knows what he has to do, and he's doing it.
Right, and I think that's the important part of it is he knows what to do. He sees what needs to be done, and he's doing it. But Congress is really, really slow in terms of their response rate. So we need people like you.
Look at that. The way you look at that, he's draining the swamp. And as you drain the swamp, all those swamp creatures that have been there for decades, the lower the water gets, the more they're going to bellyache and complain and start to croak and kick and be upset. And you're seeing them drain the swamp now, and they are bellyaching and croaking and complaining. And the deep blue state, that's what people call it. You have FBI senior members that were just totally almost criminal in their conduct against the president and the elected vote of the people. But it's part of draining the swamp. It's what we're going to have to do to get good people back in office.
And having that hard conversation, the unpopular things that you don't necessarily want to hear, we need to hear them. We need, the people in your district deserve to have a representative there that's going to be objective. You know the needs of the communities. You know the needs of the region, and you have the big picture for the nation. I've looked at your website. You have the background and the knowledge to be able to back it up and to help identify and work with the people there in D.C. to be able to get things done. Things like, I want to ask you, where do you stand on Obamacare? I know Trump has done all he can to back it out, but where do you stand on Obamacare?
I'm 100% against it. Look, the government is the most inefficient organization in the world. Now, if you're going to have any kind of care, health care or maintenance or running a business or anything, you have private industry do it because you have competent people that know how to get things done. They're going to make wise decisions. The worst people to ever run anything is a bunch of politicians because they don't have the experience. They got elected public office for being popular, and they're controlled by lobbyists and special interest groups that give them money to get reelected. That's no way to run a business, and we shouldn't put the trust and care of our health support in the hands of politicians that really don't know what they're doing. Obamacare rates are going through the roof. The service is way down. People can't afford it, and it's going to break the bank. We need to go back to a system that allows people to decide their own health care. It goes back to the beginning of republics.
So you're in support of repealing.
Give us liberty or give us death. Don't have big brother government telling us how to live our lives.
And I think what you just said right there in the last 30 seconds, could be applied to many different forms of policy, which these politicians have shoved down America's throats in terms of the Congress, and get us to a place where these things can be undone. For example, some of the climate issues that they're trying to address, and the EPA. I know Barack Obama hammered it down and really tried to expand it. Now Donald Trump is going in there and trying to do all he can to do some revisions and reductions. But people like you, where do you stand on the EPA and some of those?
I totally agree. Look, the climate has always changed. It's always going to change. Greenland was green when the Vikings found it. Then in 1200 AD, it was frozen solid. We've had cold weather times. We've had drought periods. We can't play God and trying to say, well, if we tax industry this or we tax industry that, it's going to save the climate. What we have to do is be smart and realize the climate's going to change. It always has changed. It will always change. How do we do to prepare and get ready for it so that we can adjust? That is what a wise person would do. What foolishness is thinking that by putting cap and trade and taxing industry through carbon credits and then giving the money to the government can spend it on high-speed trains in nowhere or tubes under the Delta or other foolishness isn't going to solve anything. It's just going to collapse the California economy and hurt the whole economy of the United States, which is not what we should be doing. And I think Donald Trump and many of the other wise people understand.
Right.
The climate's going to change. We don't know if it's going to get colder. We don't know if it's going to get hotter. We don't know if it's going to get drier. We don't know if it's going to get wetter. We'll adjust. We'll make it work. But we need to stop being foolish about it.
Legislating some of these issues is just, it's ridiculous in my opinion. And I think what you're trying to say is that, we have to be smart about the approach to climate. I mean, it's there. It's always going to change. But, government shouldn't get in the way of the people and start charging the people for those changes. That's the ridiculous part.
And while you're on that, try being a small business in California or in the United States. Try being a farmer in California and having to deal with the government bureaucracy coming on your ranch saying how much water you can use, how much fertilizer you can use, where you can do this, where you can do that. It's just they're just driving people out of business. And the more and more they drive people out of business, the less and less our economy is going to thrive and the less and less tax base there is going to be, so that there won't be the money to repair the roads or fix the schools or maintain our public retirement system or the other things you do, because they're killing the goose that laid the golden egg. And until we get some smart people in Washington and Sacramento to not be cajoled and controlled by lobbyists and special interest groups and political action committees, until we get people with the courage to do the right thing for the Republic, we're going to suffer, and we're going to suffer greatly.
Exactly. And you know what? But there is a solution. Getting those right people in place, like you had just mentioned a second ago. One of the other big problems that I've seen, I ran for United States Senate against Dianne Feinstein, and many people don't understand, unless you're running for office or are in government already, and you see the big picture, what is going on with the budget situation and the 12-part appropriations committees that aren't getting together, aren't having a meeting of the minds, and the Congress is continually putting forth these huge omnibus bills, these continuing resolutions, and big dollar ticket items, and nobody's having a conversation anymore. The 12-part appropriation process isn't there. Will you stand by the budgeting that we need to be able to get the work done and have those conversations and have reined-in spending? Because currently we're not seeing that, and the president doesn't have people there that are making those tough calls.
Well, it's got to be a twofold approach. We have to stop the spending in the pork barrel and the attachments to bills that have nothing to do with the bill, so somebody can get something nice for their district and somewhere to put an attachment on there. We have to have competent spending and spend money like we had to earn it ourselves. And that's one of the keys. The other key is we have to reduce taxes and reduce control and friction on the American industry to get the American industry rolling again, so they can start producing goods and services and getting people employed and start having made in America again, so we could increase our gross national and domestic product, so we increase our tax base by making the pizza bigger. We'll have more taxes to pay these debts, but we need to be smart. We need to stop wasting money. We need to get the economy rolling by helping industry, not hindering it. And mostly what government does, in my view, with all these bureaucracies, is hinder business and try and stifle the American dream. And that's just letting places like China and Korea and Japan and places around the world take advantage of our foolishness and send in products that are so cheap it's not funny. Case in point, I had to replace the air filter on my lawnmower. From Craftsman, it was $28 and $5 shipping. So I went on the eBay. On eBay, it was about $15 from Briggs & Stratton. But then there was one for $2.30, shipped from China for $2.30. It cost more to ship it than I paid them. That's undercutting the American economy by trying to sell us stuff well below cost, strictly to get the dollars out of the United States so they could strangle us.
Right.
All you have to do is look at the Bay Bridge. If we would have built the Bay Bridge, this new bridge, this $6 billion bridge over the San Francisco Bay, we would have spent and built it with American labor and American metal and American steel. We would have probably built it for less money and kept all that money in the United States recirculating, buying new Fords and cars and whatever the people wanted. But instead, we just put a bunch of gold on a boat and send it to China and go, here you go, send your junky bridge that's overpriced. That is not good government. That's not good business.
Right. It's not good business. It's not good for the American people.
No.
You know, and when America does well, the world does well. I mean, that's part of it too, and people aren't seeing that big picture. And I believe that Donald Trump is working very hard, and there are some good men and women and men in D.C. working hard, but we need more of them, because I know the person that you're running against currently is not serving your district, certainly isn't serving the people of California, and certainly isn't serving the United States of America and its positions in putting America first. So,
no,
you know,
he is part of the hardcore Democratic machine, the liberal group that is trying to control and situate America, as part of Obama tried to do during the Obama administration, to where we become less of a world leader, less aggressive, less of the American dream. And that was just absolute foolishness. And that's why I'm running for office.
That's
because
wonderful.
We need people there that are going to fight for America again.
Absolutely.
When we win, the world wins. That American flag, when it shows up on a Navy task force off some dictator's shores, the dictators really quake in their shoes, because they know the American people are behind that flag, and they're not going to put up with their nonsense anymore. So how are they trying to defeat us? They're trying to defeat us through economic sanctions like China and stuff, not making their products so cheap that we can never compete, so that we collapse from within. We need to stand up. We need to fight for America again.
Well, I love that. I love that. And why do I love that? Because I know you have the ability to follow through on those words. I know you have. It's been displayed in your work, in your commitment to the country, and your service. And sir, we're so grateful that you've stepped forward. And Erin Cruz, and the Erin Cruz Show, we support you 100% in your move for United States Congress. And the people in your area need to get involved in your campaign and help you with time, talent, and treasure. Whatever it is that they're able to help you with. And you said you have a need in Yolo County. I know a couple of our listeners may be in Yolo County, and maybe there's an area that they can do some outreach for you there. You mentioned there was
we're
a need.
reaching out heavy in both Yolo and Solano, because those are Garamendi strongholds. And we think if the people find out about me and know the truth, they'll say, goodbye, Mr. Garamendi. It's been nice having you, but it's time for you to retire. Look, the reason I'm running for office, because I served my country all my life. When I left the Battle of Fallujah, it was time to go home after 11 months. I'd just gotten married, and the first year I spent away from my wife in combat. I went to Al Assad Air Base, and there was no airplanes. They called me later that evening and had me say, we have an airplane, you can now leave. And I got on this C-130 turboprop airplane with 7 other Marines, and there was an American flag hanging in the back of it. I thought, what is this? Then they pulled up with a Humvee, and in the back of that Humvee were 3 flag-draped American caskets. That day, 7 of us came home alive, and 3 of us came home in caskets. I sat in that plane and looked at those caskets, feeling so guilty, because I know there were young men and young women, probably not a day over 20 or 21 years old in those caskets, that didn't get to live their life, that sacrificed their life for this country. So me at 48 years old, I determined I'm going to do everything I can that their lives shall not be lost in vain, and fight with all my might to put the American people back in charge of the American government.
It's wonderful. That's so touching, and I'm teary-eyed. It's just, I think that the people, many of them have lost the vision of our founders. They've lost the dream, leaving the space of an oppressive, overburdening government that tells you how to worship, how to live.
That's right.
What we have here is the opportunity.
Government of the people, by the people, and for the people, where people have the freedom to go out and live their lives and work hard and harvest the fruits of their labor, and not being controlled by excessive government or regulations, or in the case of our founding, unfair taxes. And we have more unfair taxes in this country now, especially in the state of California, than I ever could imagine I could see in my lifetime.
Right. But those lives you mentioned, they're real. This happens. And it's we need to get back to the place to really understand and recognize politics as usual isn't recognizing those lives and the many others, people who've given all for this country. And sir, we're so grateful that you're running for United States Congress.
And the real
you have the vision.
The real test is not what I've done in the past. I've done what I did. I did what I had to do.
Right.
The real test is what can we do for the future? How can we make America that rising sun again to where it's a land of prosperity so our children and our children's children will have greater liberty and more freedom than we've had and live in the greatest country in the world? We can only do that if we have the courage to stand up and fight for what's right and not listen to politicians that are going to feel which way the wind's blowing and tell you what you want to hear to get their carcass reelected. That means we have to stand up to politicians and lobbyists and special interest groups and everybody else that are trying to line their pockets and start using common sense principles in government again. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing.
Exactly. And, and he needs good men like you in there to back him up and to stand up to those other interests and other congresspersons who aren't being that voice they committed to be. And they've lost that vision. And if I believe that if many of them had somebody like you next to them to stand by their side, that they would step up and be brave enough to find that vision once again and move forward. So, well, we're getting close to the end of the show here, and I want people to be able to connect with you on your website and learn more information about you and your campaign. Could you provide us that? Please?
Pardon?
Provide us with your website?
Oh, yeah. You'll find me online in several places. My website is Schaup for Congress, and that's a last name. It's an old German Uber name. It's SCHAUPP for Congress.com or Charlie Schaup at info.com. You can also find me on Facebook, and you can find me. You can also that was a total
Freudian slip.
it is kind of funny.
A waste
You can also find me on Facebook and on Twitter. But the best place to find out about me is on my website.
Okay, what is your Twitter handle, by the way?
It's Charlie Schaup.
Charlie Schaup.
At Charlie Schaup.
Okay,
just like the name spells. CharlieSchaupp.
Wonderful. Well, Charlie. Well, Charlie, I have to tell you, thank you for being on the Erin Cruz Show. We are just delighted to have you on, and if you need anything from us, you let us know.
And we can all hope that we have a lot of upsets on Election Day, and that a lot of Republicans with courage get elected so we can save this republic from the foolishness of the past.
Amen. Godspeed.
Hit the road, Kristen. We don't vote for Democrats no more. Hit the road, Schiff and Maxine. Get lost. That's right. Take a hike, Schultz and Andrew. We won't vote for any socialists. You got nerve, Stacy. Georgia doesn't need a whack job. That's right. Oh, traitors, you'd better come clean. You're the dirtiest candidates we've ever seen. And now that we all know, you have to pack your things and go. That's right. Hit the road, Ellison. We don't vote for creeps no more. Sit down, Steve Cohn and Bredesen. You've been there way too long. Hit the road, Al Green. Hit the road, Baldwin. Hit the road, Rats. And don't come back no more. Oh, haters, you better take heed. We won't stand by while our country bleeds. You lie and cheat, it's understood. You ain't got a chance, you just ain't no good. And now, we'll take the lead to make sure we stay free. Nothing they can say that will brainwash us today. We are fully wide awake. If you have a brain, walk away. A beautiful country is at stake. Help us save her before it's too late. We'll protect our Constitution and hold high our sovereign nation. If some don't like it, they can leave it. We are fierce, you best believe it.
We really hope that you enjoyed that song from Songbird. She really puts a lot of effort into her music. Please go ahead. You're going to see her link to her music down below in the chat. Click it, open it, watch some of the other music she's put together, and share them with your friends and family. She definitely has a strong message to help make California and make America great again. On to our next.
And now, back to the Erin Cruz Show. Here's Erin Cruz.
Hello and welcome back to the Erin Cruz Show. Tonight we have on with us Bob Brunton. He is running for California State Assembly, District 25. We're really excited to have him on the show. You know, California is really hot right now. People are really looking for strong leaders in their community, something to change it up from the progressive Democrat, communist, socialist left that's just running our state into the ground. And Bob is a breath of fresh air. Welcome to the Erin Cruz Show, Bob.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to our dialogue today.
Yes, absolutely. You know, everybody is talking on the internet about, you know, what's going on in California. The loony left is taking over. Just where are the level heads here? You know, that the people that will do the good work for Californians. I mean, what are you seeing there in your district, in District 25? Is there the same needing to be met there?
Oh, there are so many needs to be met, and that's part of the main reason why I'm running. You know, the overall theme of my campaign is no excuses, just solutions.
Right.
And what I've been able to do, I know my district very well, have lived here since the mid-'70s, and have owned 3 businesses in the area over the decades, was an elected official for 12 years in Fremont, which is in my district. So, and I really understand this district from its edge to its edge. And now I'm going to Sacramento to start fixing things, not really taking the politics out of it and just getting into the solutions. Just because our current incumbent seems to just dibble-dabble on the sides instead of really tackling the major issues that we're facing here.
Right. Now, there's a lot of legislation being shoved through. And I say shoved through because I don't know that Californians seem very happy with what the legislature is doing currently. And it seems like the politicians up there aren't listening. Where do you stand on some of these issues that are coming forth and that you're seeing up there in Sacramento?
Well, let me first start with at the large level of what you're talking about, which is a core theme of my campaign, which is about treating you, the voter, and you, the taxpayer, with respect. It is unacceptable that they wait until the last week to dump all of these bills on us. It's unacceptable. Many people said, Bob, these propositions, the wording on them is awkward. It's hard to figure out even how to deal with these issues. And it doesn't appear that there's a great deal of input. And so I am definitely, one of my goals will be not to wait to the last minute. And if it just because they haven't done their job doesn't mean we have to then do it all the last week. Either you have a right, you should have, I know you have to have at least 72 hours, but frankly, that's even too short for major issues to be talking to them about. I mean, I want to give you, the voter, as much time to focus in on the key issues. Now, that said, you've asked about some of the propositions probably and some of the legislations that's coming out. In my district, the current Assemblyman has an initiative on the ballot.
Right.
He thinks the number one problem facing California that was important for him to put on an initiative was to get rid of daylight savings time. No one in my district has thought that's a big issue. He's.
As a matter of fact, it can help economies.
I mean, frankly, here he is. This is his crowning achievement as an assemblyman was to. He says he already was trying to initiatives of improving our housing situation by decriminalizing people living in mobile homes in front of your house, other people's houses. That's ridiculous. And so now his greatest thing is to get rid of daylight savings time. And my constituents are saying, Bob, how come we can't improve our schools? How do we improve our budget? How do we improve our infrastructure?
Right.
This is nuttiness.
Right.
And so I'm not going to be dealing with, sidebar issues. I'm talking, about dramatically changing our educational systems in California so that we can get better results for our students and more respect for our taxpayers.
Right.
And so it is, we could go through some of those propositions. What I'd like to do, Erin, too, is to let people know some of the things I plan to do,
right,
and how I fight for my district, but also fight for you, even if you aren't in my district, just because you brought up a key point about the nuttiness of California. You take this gas tax as an example,
right,
where the governor lied and my current assemblyman lied because he said we would not raise taxes without a vote of the people. But because the Democrats had a supermajority, they decided just to raise the tax anyway. So,
without public opinion, without going through the process, and taxation without representation is the way I look at that.
You betcha. It is, and it is taxation without representation.
They shoved it through.
I know, and as a sidebar of that, we have a local issue that I've also come out against because it's taxation without representation. We have one of our cities in my district wants to dramatically increase hotel taxes. And I said, this is another example of taxation without representation. Just because you're taking advantage of people who can't vote, that's just wrong. If at least why don't you face them straight up and say, we need to improve our city, but don't say taxing the tourists who will never use your city services. You should welcome them into your city. But going back to the gas tax, so it is not only did they lie that they weren't going to do it without elected people, and then you look at how they're going to do it. So, and always at the very last minute that they even add the battery operated cars. Because many of the people in my district is larger in the daytime than in the nighttime. And what I mean by that is we have more jobs here than we have people living here.
Right.
And so we have a lot of people who move into the town during the day, and these people can drive several hours sometimes to get into Santa Clara or Milpitas, which is where my District 25 is.
Right.
And they're going to pay an enormous amount in gas taxes, and then there was no provision even that where it was collected that it be spent. And there's so many bad things about it. So one thing I won't do to you is I won't tax you. I'm not, nor will I, certainly without a lot of discussion. And B, I wouldn't certainly even want to do legislation without some sort of discussion point to get your input.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's what Californians deserve to have in terms of a representative in Sacramento, because, that's what being a representative is, an assembly person is. You're representing a district. You're representing groups of people. Those people should have input.
Yes, and I make a big point, Erin. I know you and I have not met, but I spend an enormous amount of time trying to visit as many different groups as I can.
Right.
I get out of the comfort zone. even though I'm a Republican, I go to events that are clearly designed the Democrats to control them, or other events, because I want to hear what they're thinking and to find out where we have some degree of common ground, and then to understand that at the end of the day, I plan to represent everybody in my district, and we got to fix our problems. The roads don't belong to any one political party. The schools don't belong to one political party. We have to make them better. And I've got a whole series of ideas on this, which if your listeners can contact me. We've got 30 ways to improve our district and state without raising taxes. As a matter of fact, we got several decreased taxes plans. We've got several ideas of how, anyway, so it's ideas I've gotten from not only living here, but listening to people, telling me, I would just ask them a core question. I'm sitting at Peach yesterday, people watched me do this, and I said, tell me one thing Sacramento could do for you to make your life better. And all these people just started firing away at me, which was kind of fun. He says, well, let's write that down. That's a good idea. Let's see how that can work.
The people are pretty amazing, right? The people are pretty amazing. Yeah. If you just talk to them and spend time with them, you understand they have problems, and they too have solutions that might work for them. Isn't that a novel concept to listen and understand? And I like that you are going out there and you are talking to the people and working.
Let me give you a few ideas. Let me give you some examples of things I've learned by doing this. And some of this, I'm going to give you two small things and then a few bigger things. Two small things. One is to eliminate the used car sales tax. Now, think about this. One person said, Bob, I buy a nice car for $40,000 and I paid $4,000 in tax. And a few years later, I sell it to somebody else for $25,000 and they got to pay another $2,500 in tax. That just seems wrong. You already paid the tax on this car. So, it's a silly, we don't do that for anything else. You don't buy a refrigerator from Sears and then later on sell it again and collect sales tax on it. So just eliminate the used car sales tax. If you bought the car from a California car dealer, you paid full tax on it, there's no reason when you resell it that another sales tax is collected. That's a silly, it just is, so hey, that's you're right, I can champion that. It makes a lot of sense. It's a stupid tax. Let's get rid of that tax.
Well, the question is, where is all the money going? That's what I would like to know, because that's another issue is, there, and that what you're bringing up about the used car, the sales tax, there are many instances where you have multiple layers of tax, right?
It's crazy.
You pay tax on your income, there are levels upon levels. You go buy something at the store, then what have you. It goes on and on and on. That's very complex.
On and on.
But I believe that what we're seeing here in California is they bring in an enormous amount of what they like to call revenue, and there's very little transparent and understandable feedback to the population about where the money is actually being spent, and very little oversight in terms of the populace understanding how that money is really spent, and is it clean? Is there fraud? Is there abuse? Is there waste? And what can we do? And I think the legislature, they want to tax, add a new tax. Where is the money going currently for all of the revenues that they like to say revenues? Did they earn it?
Right.
Where is it going?
You are
so
correct.
It would be good to have somebody like you in office willing to look at that and address the issue.
And then explain it to you, because for your listeners at home, my business is I was in electronics manufacturing, and I'm also a certified financial planner. Okay.
Right.
So, and what I would tell people too is that it's, in business, you change your auditors every once in a while just because you need a good, clean set of eyes. And exactly what you're bringing up. You bring me into Sacramento, I'll start opening up doors, start asking questions that they haven't been looked at in a while. And I expect it to be ugly. It'll probably be even uglier than I expect. But,
well,
but
yeah, you better be prepared for that, Bob. You better be prepared for that.
Well,
the fact
that
that Jerry Brown is just now talking about getting into DMV, getting into a DMV audit is insane. I mean, the amount of sluggishness, just drag the feet, people there, and the money that's being paid out, and they're raising the fees.
I couldn't agree with you more.
We need to look at it.
Yeah.
Take
Absolutely.
a look. How hard is it to say for some of these legislators to say, you know what, we need to put a bill forth, or something forth, not a proposition, but put something forth to say, look, my constituents are saying we want to know what's going on here.
But
Governor, let's take a look.
When you look at my When you look at my campaign, you'll see one of my 4 pillars is dealing with that. The trust in government is a key goal of mine. Not only improving education, not only about improving civil justice, not only about talking our infrastructure systems, but bringing back trust in our government and trust in our numbers. I mean, I know we tax too much, we spend too much, we waste too much. We don't even believe the numbers. In my district, BART, it's been late, and they keep saying it's on time or something, or it's under budget. Hey, look, you were supposed to open the stations 2 years ago. The high-speed rail is a boondoggle. It's a tremendous waste of money. In the Bay Area, we have 24 mass transit agencies, and we have another 25th is going to be the mass. It's like how much overhead bureaucracy. This is nuts. I think on the one hand, we have more bureaucrats than writers. It almost seems like with these mass transit systems, it's crazy.
And attorneys.
You're dead. That's right on here, and we have to, and I will tell your listeners a joke I tell people occasionally is to remember Bob Brunton for state assembly. I will bear the brunt of it. I can handle a ton. That's how I let you be. I'm going to try to fix this state, because let me take the heat, because that's the only way we're going to fix this state is just to have the courage to stand up to these the status quo-isms and all the special interests. They all want to keep it the way it is. It's horrible.
Well, you know what's good about it, though, is we see the reality. I look back at Barack Obama, and when he first got into office, some of the things he said, it sounds good, but the reality of what he was saying was very bad. The fundamental issues, were really, really quite uncomfortable in terms of then what rolled out in policy and law, and then the fallout thereafter. But here's the deal. 8 years of Barack Obama brought us to the place where we had to make some tough choices. And we ended up with Donald J. Trump as our president. And we're seeing a great restructuring in many ways, refining, and some nice, I believe, changes that are actual changes which will benefit the American people. Through the hardship and what happened with Barack Obama, we now have Donald Trump. So perhaps it is that with the horribleness of Jerry Brown and the left and the people who are in the assembly currently, we may end up in a position where we have a lot of revisionists, people who, and even conservatives who are wanting to go in there and say, hey, what's been going on isn't working. We need to dial it back. We need to cut back the regulations, reduce the tax, and make changes. And it sounds like you're on that same path, and that's wonderful.
Oh, absolutely.
And the people are ready for you. Ready for you to go in there and attack the issues.
I sure hope so. Not only do we want to make California great again, we can make it the best ever. It's really, and this is such a wonderful place. It's the only thing that's bad is our government. Really, we got great weather, great geography, great people, but our government is fossils. I'm in the heart of Silicon Valley, and you see disruptors in the private sector reinvent themselves, but our government is just hangs on. It doesn't make any types of changes, and I can tell you Bob Brunton will. He's going to go in there and fix things.
That's wonderful. And you have a plan. I understand you have a very extensive plan. And, what I'd like for you to do right now, we're coming to the end of the segment. I would like for you to just say your name again and let our viewers and listeners know where they can go to read your plan and share information with other people out there they might know that live in the 25th District. Okay.
Well, again, my name is Bob Brunton, and The website and the email is pretty straightforward. If you want to send me a message, say Bob at bobbruttenforassembly.com, and you can go to bobbruttenforassembly.com for my website. I want to contact, and it's pretty straightforward, simple. I will get back to you. You send me a message, I will respond back to you.
Wonderful.
And I want your input too. I'm going to ask that same question I've been asking at the different places I go. What could one thing Sacramento could do to make your life better, or stop doing to you to make your life worse? And let me know, and let's see if we can't combine those into what were the 30 plans. And the reason why I've said 30, because I am allowed as Assemblyman to do up to 40 bills. It seems like I've already committed to do 30. So I got 10 more to go. So give me some of those ideas.
There's room. There's room for ideas.
Right. Okay.
Wonderful.
So thank you for
Wonderful.
Thank you for your time, Erin.
Oh, thank you so much again for being on the Erin Cruz Show. And Godspeed.
To our many partners and friends in China for your strong commitment to growing the economic and cultural ties between our two great countries. I'm especially pleased that California's first trade office has its home in Shanghai, and I have a very special connection with Shanghai. As mayor of San Francisco a long time ago, I had the honor of establishing a sister city relationship with Shanghai.
Thank you again for joining us for another edition of the Erin Cruz Show. We are hoping you learned a lot of information about different candidates throughout the state, from assembly members, candidates, all the way to United States House of Representatives. Great information. Please check out our website, erincruz.com. Share it with your friends. Make sure that you share the individual interviews. They'll be coming out in the next day or so. The other thing is, please, if you can, like, share, and subscribe, as it says below. Everybody in California, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, no party preference, all of us need to make the smart and wise choices for the future of our state and the Republic. If you're able to, please go to our website, to the Erin Cruz Show tab, scroll to the bottom, and contribute. Tonight's show is made for you out of time, love for country. But really, we need your help to keep this going. We have website, we have phone numbers, everything else. Please help us, partner with us to keep this message out here, keep it going. In addition, if you could share that page, the Erin Cruz Show page, the YouTube, that would be awesome too. You know, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter. There are many ways people can get involved. We have what's called Team Erin Cruz. You can go to erincruz.com, sign up to volunteer. You can go to another page, which is linked at the top, and get involved in other ways relating to my vision for the country and for the state. Please, it's going to take many, many of us banded together, united as one, to take our country and this state back. Be a part of the revolution, America. God bless you. God bless California. And God bless the United States of America.
To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact or about the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's erincruz.com. Thank you for joining us, and see you at the same time and the same place next week.